Sandra Bullock's words shocked every Speed fan. "I had a huge crush on Keanu, and he had one on me too, but we were both too shy." Her 2019 appearance on the Ellen DeGeneres Show revealed a mystery that had been brewing since 1994. But why? Why didn't the chemistry between Hollywood's most charismatic actor and America's sweetheart ever turn into real love? What happened on the Speed set wasn't just behind-the-scenes flirting. The pure, innocent yet deep feelings between these two young stars remained hidden during the peak of their careers for a reason. And more importantly, how is this connection still alive 30 years later? Because there's a much deeper truth behind Sandra's confession. What do you think would have happened if one of them had made the first move that day? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more of this series. In the scorching heat of summer 1994, the Speed film shoot was underway at Fox Studios in the heart of Los Angeles. Keanu Reeves was 29 at the time, starting to make a name for himself in Hollywood with Point Break's success. Sandra Bullock was 30, a talented actress trying to transition from television to cinema. Neither knew about the massive successes awaiting them. The Matrix hadn't even been written yet, and Sandra's iconic performance in Miss Congeniality was years away. Back then, both were simply focused on successfully completing this action film. But when filming began, something the cameras couldn't capture was happening. Speed's director Jon DeBont noticed the natural chemistry between Keanu and Sandra from the very first days of shooting. The harmony these two actors showed on screen was perfect, as if they'd been working together for years. The romantic tension between Jack Traven and Annie Porter looked so authentic that most people on set couldn't believe it was just acting. But the truth was, even when the cameras stopped rolling, that electricity between them was still there. Keanu's usually quiet and distant demeanor softened around Sandra, while Sandra found a completely different energy in Keanu's presence. By the third week of filming, the crew started noticing changes in Keanu's behavior. According to reports in the media, the actor who normally spent breaks alone reading books was now trying to be wherever Sandra was. Set sources reported that they sat together at catering, with Keanu listening intently to Sandra's stories and responding to her sense of humor with hearty laughs. Sandra was also different around Keanu. The actress, known for joking around with her coworkers and her energetic attitude, became calmer and more thoughtful when talking with Keanu. Production records from that period note that the chemistry between the two was noticeable. According to accounts from those close to them, Sandra constantly talked about Keanu during filming, curious about his acting approach, while Keanu tried to learn how Sandra prepared for her scenes. This went far beyond the typical professional interest seen on sets. Speed's most iconic scenes took place on the bus. In that cramped space, Jack and Annie's growing closeness wasn't just scripted. According to accounts from the crew over the years, Keanu and Sandra's real connection was also happening in that same space, during those same scenes. It was observed that Keanu, standing next to Sandra in the driver's seat, sometimes stood closer than the scene required. The touches, looks, and silent communication between them was so natural that director Jon DeBont often didn't need extra takes because the chemistry they captured in the first shot was perfect. But both were too shy to express their inner feelings. Accounts from Keanu's close circle mentioned that the actor constantly talked about Sandra but couldn't work up the courage to ask her out. Keanu's naturally shy nature and Sandra's similar reluctance caused both to avoid making a move. Sandra was experiencing conflicting emotions during that time. According to media reports, while her feelings for Keanu grew stronger each day, she worried about her position in Hollywood and her career. In the mid-90s, female actresses who had romantic relationships with male colleagues were typically criticized for being unprofessional. Sandra hadn't yet proven herself in the industry, and Speed was a huge opportunity for her. Given Hollywood's industry dynamics at the time, Sandra's fears weren't entirely unfounded. In the mid-90s, Hollywood was still a male-dominated industry where female actresses faced much more judgment. Sandra was a smart woman who calculated risks correctly, but she also sensed that losing Keanu would be a huge loss. Everything would change in the final days of filming. Keanu had finally worked up the courage and decided to ask Sandra out for a special dinner. According to information from his close circle, his plan was simple. After filming wrapped, he'd take her to his favorite restaurant and reveal his feelings there. When Keanu shared this plan with his friends, they encouraged him. The waiting was finally over. But fate had different plans. During the last week of filming, Sandra's manager received an urgent call. Sandra had gotten a big offer. Her name was being considered for the second female lead in an important production. This role was crucial for Sandra's career, but she had to immediately go to New York to meet with the producers. When Sandra received this offer, she was very conflicted. According to statements that later appeared in the media, while this opportunity was vital for her career, she would be leaving behind the beautiful moments she'd experienced on the speed set. After thinking long and hard that night, she decided to choose her career, but how difficult this decision was would become clear in interviews years later. She came to set early the next morning and told Keanu she was going to New York. Media accounts mention that both experienced emotional moments during this conversation. Sandra's answer to, "When will you be back?" wasn't clear. "I don't know. If I get the role, filming could take months." At that moment, both realized this separation wouldn't just be temporary. Sandra's departure from the speed set was emotionally difficult for both of them. After shooting her final scene, the two shared a long goodbye. This farewell was a special moment because both knew it would be their last meeting for a long time. In that moment, both came close to revealing their feelings to each other, but the words wouldn't come. Only that silent farewell happened. As Sandra headed to the airport, she kept looking back, hoping something would happen at the last moment. Keanu watched Sandra's departure from a distance, thinking about running after her and telling her the truth, but neither took that step, and Sandra left Los Angeles. That night, Keanu sat alone at home, thinking about the beautiful moments they could have shared. Sandra, on the plane to New York, thought she might have missed the biggest emotional opportunity of her life. Sandra stayed in New York for a year, and during that time, she never spoke to Keanu. But according to media reports, both constantly thought about each other. Even while Keanu prepared for the Matrix project, Sandra was always in a corner of his mind. Sandra constantly remembered speed memories during her new film's shooting. When Sandra Bullock appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres Show in 2019, the host asked her questions about Keanu Reeves. Until that moment, Sandra had never talked about what they experienced during speed filming. But that day was different. Maybe it was the confidence that came with age, or perhaps the weight of emotions she'd been carrying for years, but something pushed Sandra to speak. "I had a huge crush on Keanu," Sandra said with a smile. "He had one on me too, but we were both too shy." This confession surprised Ellen and the studio audience. Sandra continued, "During filming, we kept looking at each other, but neither of us made a move. Thinking about it now, it's funny because we both felt the same things but didn't know it." This confession surprised not only fans but Keanu as well. Hearing Sandra's words, Keanu commented in a later program, "Sandra is an amazing person. I felt there was a special connection between us during that time, but I didn't know she felt the same way. I wish I'd had the courage to tell her my feelings back then." When Sandra returned from New York to Los Angeles, a new dynamic had formed between them. They had accepted that they'd missed their chance at a romantic relationship, but their mutual respect and admiration continued. According to media reports, during this period, rare but meaningful communications happened between them. Sandra's congratulatory message to Keanu on Speed's second anniversary was the first sign that their connection was still alive. In this message, Sandra mentioned how special the Speed filming had been for her. Keanu's response to this message was equally warm. Both began closely following each other's careers during this period. Accounts from their circles mention that Keanu appreciated Sandra's performance in While You Were Sleeping, and Sandra liked Keanu's role in A Walk in the Clouds. During this time, both were living at an intense pace in their own lives. Sandra was rapidly advancing toward becoming the new queen of romantic comedies, while Keanu was turning toward darker and more independent projects. But they never stopped thinking about each other. In Hollywood circles, they began to be talked about as an example of a friendship where two people had mutual respect, but never entered into a romantic relationship. When The Matrix was released in 1999, Sandra watched the film at its first screening. According to reports from the press, Sandra sent a message expressing how proud she was after seeing Keanu's transformative performance as Neo. This message was the most personal and emotional communication they'd shared to date. The Matrix's global success made Keanu a worldwide star. But even in the midst of this success, the support message from Sandra was very important to him. Accounts from Keanu's circle mention how happy the actor was when he received Sandra's message. It's reported that he said, "Sandra being proud means more to me than any award." During this period, Sandra was also achieving great success with Miss Congeniality. Accounts from his circle mention how much Keanu appreciated Sandra's comedic talent. Both had become stars specializing in different genres, but their mutual respect had never diminished. In 2001, Keanu and Sandra randomly met at an art gallery in Los Angeles. This encounter was very emotional for both because they were meeting face to face after years. According to media accounts, during this meeting, they talked for hours and reminisced about old times. During this conversation, both felt that their old chemistry still existed, but now in a different dimension. Sandra was in a serious relationship with Jesse James at the time, while Keanu was at a different point in his own inner journey. But when they parted that day, both knew they would always have a special place in each other's lives. After this encounter, their communication became more regular. They made it a habit to congratulate each other at important film premieres, birthdays, and moments of success. In Hollywood circles, people began talking about how genuine and clean this friendship was. Throughout these years, both experienced difficult periods in their lives. Sandra's marital problems, Keanu losing close friends, tough times. According to information reflected in the media, during these difficult periods, they provided each other with quiet but strong support. Accounts from their circles mention that during Sandra's marriage crisis, Keanu sent her encouraging messages, and when Keanu went through hard times, Sandra stood by him. This support system never made it to the media because both were very careful about protecting their private lives. During this period, their friendship deepened even further. They were no longer just former lovers, but truly friends who cared about each other. In an environment where such clean and genuine friendships were rare in Hollywood, their relationship set an example. The biggest test of this friendship that had lasted for years was Sandra's confession on Ellen. This confession surprised not only fans but also Keanu because, until that point, neither had spoken so openly about their emotional connection from the past. Sandra's courage showed how strong their friendship was. Keanu's response to Sandra's confession was equally mature. Speaking on another program, he confirmed the situation by saying, "There was always a special bond between Sandra and me. This friendship is very valuable to me." These statements became the best example of how two stars with past romantic connections could build a mature friendship in Hollywood. During the COVID-19 pandemic, like many Hollywood stars, Keanu and Sandra lived isolated lives due to social distancing rules. But according to information reflected in the media, their communication became even more frequent during this period. They continued to be there for each other through phone calls, video calls, and messaging. Accounts from their circles mention that Sandra shared the quality time she spent with her children during the pandemic with Keanu, and that Keanu sent Sandra poems he wrote during this period. As they aged, both realized that their respect for each other was growing even more. During this period, Sandra mentioned in an interview how the presence of friends like Keanu made her feel so strong. Keanu also made similar statements, emphasizing that true friendships are the most valuable things in life. Today, the friendship between Keanu and Sandra continues. Both chose different life paths. Sandra lives with her adopted children after being married for a while Keanu is in a relationship with Alexandra Grant after being single for many years. But their mutual respect and love never diminished. Media accounts mention that they follow each other's successes, support each other during difficult times, and exchange advice on important decisions. This friendship is so genuine because it's based on real love. Information reflected in the media includes that Keanu supported Sandra during her difficult times, and Sandra stood by Keanu during his life's challenges. In 2023, Keanu's birthday message to Sandra on her 59th birthday went viral on social media. He congratulated Sandra with the message, "One of the most valuable lessons I learned too late in life. True friendships are based on heart connections, not time." This message showed how deep and meaningful their bond was. This friendship also represents a rare, clean relationship in Hollywood. There was never any scandal between them, no gossip, just mutual respect and love. This situation also sets an example for other stars in the industry. Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock's story will remain one of Hollywood's most beautiful what-if stories. This platonic love that two talented actors experienced during the most critical period of their careers brought them even closer together. Perhaps not turning into real love was why their friendship lasted so long. Today, both are happy in their own lives, but the millions of people who watch Speed now know that the chemistry on screen was real. because sometimes the most beautiful love stories are hidden in moments that were never lived but always remembered. Keanu and Sandra's story is one of those stories, pure, clean, and a love story that will last forever. This story shows us that sometimes cowardice can be the cause of our biggest regrets, but at the same time, true love and respect don't have an expiration date. Even 30 years later, the bond between Keanu and Sandra is as strong and as pure as it was back then. Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this story is that in Hollywood's world full of self-interested relationships, two people were able to form such a clean and genuine bond. Sometimes the most beautiful stories remain as friendships. Do you think this story should have ever happened? Share your thoughts and don't forget to subscribe for more unknown stories like this one.